The rain hammered the window like it had a grudge, each drop a tiny accusation against the fragile quiet I'd built in my apartment. Wyatt's truck rumbled to a stop outside, headlights slicing through the downpour, and I froze mid-pour, whiskey sloshing over the rim of the glass. When the door swung open and he stepped in, soaked to the bone, his eyes weren't the easy blue I knew. They were storm dark, carrying secrets heavier than the Pacific Northwest sky. I handed him a towel without a word, watching water pool at his feet on the hardwood floor. Wyatt Kane, my straight-as-an-arrow best friend since our fumbling days at the University of Washington, looked like he'd been dragged through hell on his way over. His flannel clung to his broad shoulders, outlining the rancher build he'd earned hauling lumber in Ridge Valley, the small logging town 2 hours east where he'd retreated after graduation. We hadn't hung out like this in months, not since he'd started dating that realtor from Spokane, the one with the laugh like shattering glass. "Jesus, Finn," he muttered, rubbing the towel over his cropped dark hair, droplets catching the lamplight like regret. "You pick the shittiest nights for movie night." I forced a grin, the kind that hid the ache I'd nursed since sophomore year, when I'd first noticed how his laugh lit up a room like summer breaking through clouds. "Blame the forecast. Grab a beer. We're doing classics tonight, before sunrise, because why not torture ourselves with what-ifs?" He chuckled, low and rough, but it didn't reach his eyes, as he shrugged off his jacket, revealing the faded tattoo of a compass rose on his forearm, the one we'd gotten drunk on cheap tequila during finals week. I felt that familiar pull, the gravity of him that had always threatened to upend my carefully compartmentalized world. Wyatt was straight, end of story. College hookups with sorority girls, bar fights over football scores, and now this steady thing with Lena. He was the anchor in my drifting life, the one constant when freelance graphic design gigs dried up and the city chewed me up like yesterday's fog. We settled on the couch, the projector humming to life, casting Ethan's wistful face across the wall. The whiskey burned going down, loosening the knots in my chest. Halfway through, as Julie Delpy's voice cracked on some Parisian street, Wyatt shifted, his knee brushing mine. Accidental, sure, but the heat lingered, a spark in the dim room. "You ever wonder," he said suddenly, voice thick, "if we're just chasing shadows? Like, all this running around, pretending we know what the hell we're doing?" I turned, heart thudding against my ribs. His face was inches away, jaw tight, the scent of rain and pine soap wrapping around me. "Every damn day, man. But that's the point, right? The chase." He held my gaze too long, something fracturing behind those eyes. Then the movie flickered on, and the moment slipped away like smoke. But as the credits rolled hours later, empty bottles scattered like fallen soldiers, Wyatt didn't move. Neither did I. The rain had softened to a whisper, but the storm inside us was just beginning. That night stretched like taffy, pulling us into confessions we'd buried under layers of bro-code bullshit. Wyatt drained his third beer and launched into it without preamble. The fight with Lena that afternoon, her screaming about how he was checked out, how he'd come here because my texts were the only ones that didn't feel like obligations. I nodded, listening, but my mind snagged on the way his fingers drummed the armrest, calloused from saws and axes, so close to mine. Ridge Valley had always been his escape, he said, a place where the evergreens swallowed secrets whole. Born and raised there, son of a widowed logger who taught him to fell trees before he could drive, Wyatt had this unyielding loyalty to roots that tangled deep. Me? I'd bolted from my family's cramped row house in Tacoma the second I could, chasing art school dreams and the anonymity of Seattle's gray sprawl. We were opposites stitched together by late-night study sessions and shared packs of Camels on rainy balconies. As the whiskey dulled the edges, he leaned back, staring at the ceiling where shadows danced like ghosts. "Remember that summer after junior year? The road trip to the coast. How could I forget? We'd crammed into his beat-up Ford, windows down, blasting Springsteen until our throats ached. Crashed on beaches in Oregon, bonfires spitting embers into the stars. Him stripping to swim in the surf while I sketched the horizon, stealing glances at the V of his back. I jerked off to that memory more times than I cared to count, guilt twisting like a knife each time. "Yeah," I said, voice steady by some miracle. "You nearly drowned chasing that goddamn frisbee." He laughed, but it cracked. "And you pulled me out, held on like I was the last solid thing in the world." The air thickened, charged with the unsaid. I wanted to bridge the gap, to trace the line of his collarbone peeking from his shirt, but I swallowed it down. Straight friend. Movie night. Keep it light. Instead, I queued up Call Me By Your Name. A risky pivot, but hell, it was my apartment. As Timothée Chalamet's Golden Summer unfolded on screen, Wyatt grew quieter, his body heat a constant hum beside me. Midway through the peach scene, he cleared his throat. This shit is heavy. That kid, Elio, falling so hard he breaks open. I risked a glance. His profile was etched in projector light, lips parted like he was tasting the words before speaking them. Yeah, love like that's a wrecking ball. But worth it, maybe. He turned then, eyes locking on mine, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the space between us. His hand twitched, brushing my thigh. Deliberate this time, and electricity shot through me, raw and unfiltered. I didn't pull away, neither did he. The movie ended in tears and farewell, the room silent save for our breathing. Wyatt's fingers lingered, a question in the pressure. Finn, what if I told you I've been lying? To everyone, to myself. My pulse roared in my ears. Rain pattered like applause. Then I'd say spill it. No judgments here. He exhaled, long and shaky, and leaned in. His lips met mine tentative, tasting of hops and salt. A dam breaking after years of pressure. I kissed back, hungry, hands fisting his shirt, pulling him closer until we were tangled, the couch creaking under us. It was messy, urgent, teeth clashing, breaths mingling like we'd been starving. When we broke apart, foreheads pressed, his whisper was a rasp. I've wanted this, you, for longer than I can admit. The confession hung, heavy as the fog rolling in from Puget Sound. But as dawn crept through the blinds, painting us in pale light, doubt flickered in his eyes. Lena's ghost, his father's expectations, the straight lines of his life. They loomed like storm clouds. Movie night had cracked us open, but rewriting? That would take more than one stolen kiss. Wyatt's truck idled in the driveway the next morning, engine rumbling like an apology neither of us could voice. I stood at the window, coffee mug cooling in my hands, watching him grip the wheel, jaw set against the rearview mirror. He'd slipped out before the sun fully rose, murmuring something about an early shift at the mill, but the avoidance stung sharper than the chill seeping through the glass. My phone buzzed on the counter, his text. Last night was real. Need time to sort my head. Talk soon? I typed back a quick yeah, man, whenever, but deleted the heart emoji before hitting send. Keep it cool, Finn. Don't scare him off. The day blurred into freelance edits for some indie band's album art, my stylus scratching digital lines that mimicked the chaos in my chest. Seattle's drizzle mirrored it all. Endless, unrelenting, soaking into your bones until you couldn't tell where the wet ended and the ache began. By evening, I caved and called my sister, Mara, the one family tie I hadn't severed completely. She picked up on the second ring, her voice a warm anchor from her barista gig in Portland. Spill, she said, no preamble. Mara knew me too well, the gay kid who'd come out at 16 to parents who nodded politely then changed the subject, the one who'd fled to the city for reinvention. I paced the kitchen, words tumbling. Invited Wyatt over. Movies. One thing led to everything. Silence, then her low whistle. The straight lumberjack? Holy shit. Finn. Details. I sketched the kiss, the raw edge of it, skipping the whiskey haze and my pounding heart. She laughed, but it softened into concern. Be careful. Guys like him, they're all bravado until the mirror cracks. She wasn't wrong. Wyatt and I had built our friendship on safe ground. Hikes in the Cascades, dive bars where we'd nurse IPAs and roast X's. He'd never once clocked my orientation as anything but trivia, like my allergy to shellfish. But last night, that had been a seismic shift, the kind that leaves fault lines. 2 days later, he showed up unannounced, toolbox in hand, claiming my leaky faucet needed fixing. Ridge Valley pragmatism. Fix what's broken before it floods the whole damn place. I let him in, the apartment still smelling faintly of stale beer and possibility. He worked in silence, wrench turning with focused fury, while I hovered, offering sandwiches I knew he'd wave off. About the other night, he finally said, wiping grease on his jeans, those blue eyes avoiding mine. I meant it. But Lena, she's expecting a ring by Christmas. Family pressure, you know? Dad's been on me since Mom passed. Settle down, make it right. The words landed like punches, each one bruising deeper. Lena, with her Pinterest-perfect life, the one who'd posted their couple's hike last month. All filtered sunsets and matching flannels. I'd liked it, thumb hovering too long, masochism disguised as support. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed to hide the tremble. So what was that, then? A detour? His face crumpled, the tough guy mask slipping. No. God, no. It's you, Finn. Always has been buried under all the straight guy crap I swallowed whole. College, those looks you'd give me when you thought I wasn't watching. I felt them, ignored them. But now, he stepped closer, calloused hand cupping my neck, thumb tracing my jaw. The kiss this time was slower, exploratory, like mapping uncharted coast. I melted into it, hands roaming his back, feeling the ripple of muscle earned from felling pines twice his age. We stumbled to the bedroom, shedding clothes like old skins. His shirt hitting the floor, revealing the scatter of freckles across his chest. My jeans pooling at ankles, vulnerability laid bare. It was tender at first, whispers and touches that built like a crescendo. Then urgent, bodies slick with sweat, the headboard thumping a rhythm against the wall. Wyatt's gasps were prayers, my name on his lips like a revelation. Afterward, tangled in sheets, his head on my chest, he traced lazy circles on my skin. This scares the hell out of me. What if I can't rewrite it all? I kissed his temple, tasting salt. Then we do it page by page. But pages turned too fast. A week in, stolen afternoons in my apartment, hikes where our hands brushed trailside, bliss laced with barbed wire. Lena called during one of our lazy Sundays, her voice tinny through the speaker he'd forgotten to silence. Wyatt, where are you? We had plans. He froze, phone slipping from his fingers. I watched the color drain from his face, the easy lines hardening into regret. Shit, Finn, answer it, I said, voice even though my gut twisted. He did, mumbling excuses about a flat tire, the lies piling like driftwood. When he hung up, the silence was a chasm. I'm sorry, he whispered, pulling me close, but the seed of doubt had sprouted, thorny and insistent. That night, alone after he'd left for Ridge Valley, I scrolled old photos. Us at 20, grinning idiots on a ferry to Bainbridge, wind whipping our hair. What had I invited in? A rewrite or just another erasure? The Cascade foothills blurred past as Wyatt's truck ate up the miles to Ridge Valley, pines standing sentinel like silent judges. I sat shotgun, sketchpad abandoned on my lap, the pencil marks smudged from nervous fidgeting. It was my first trip east since college, the invitation casual. Come see the old stomping grounds, but laced with undercurrents. Meet the town, meet the life he'd half-confessed to reshaping. Ridge Valley unfolded like a sepia postcard. Clabbered houses huddled against evergreen slopes, the mill's whistle piercing the crisp air at noon. Wyatt's place was a modest cabin on the outskirts, redolent of cedar and wood smoke, his dad's old chainsaw propped by the porch like a family heirloom. He'd inherited it after the cancer took his mother 5 years back, the weight of it etched in the creases around his eyes. Home sweet chaos, he said, unloading my duffel, his smile strained. Inside, the space was Spartan. Flannel throws on a sagging couch, framed photos of him and Lena at county fairs, her arm looped possessively through his. I swallowed the jealousy, sharp as pine sap, and cracked a beer from the fridge. We grilled steaks that evening, flames licking the dusk, while he spun yarns about mill antics. Guys betting on log tosses, the foreman with a limp from a '78 accident. Laughter came easy, but when his phone lit up with Lena's name, the air chilled. He silenced it, but not before I saw the unread tally. 7. She's relentless, he muttered, flipping the meat. Thinks we're endgame. I poked at the coals, embers glowing like accusations. And you? What do you think? He met my eyes, fork pausing. I think endgames are for chess. This us, it's Messier. Reeler. We ate under the stars, constellations wheeling overhead, his knee pressed to mine under the picnic table. Later, in the guest room, a converted sun porch with a cot and quilt his mom stitched, He slipped in after midnight, wordless. Our bodies found each other in the dark, slow and reverent. His mouth mapping my collarbone, my fingers threading his hair. It felt like claiming territory, but the cabin creaked around us, walls thin as paper promises. Morning brought coffee on the porch, fog cloaking the valley like a shroud. Wyatt's dad, Harlan, lumbered up the drive unannounced. A bear of a man in oil-stained overalls, his handshake crushing mine. Finn Harper, the city slicker. Wyatt says you're handy with a pencil. Draw us a logo for the co-op sometime. I nodded, mumbling pleasantries, but his eyes lingered, appraising. Over pancakes, his specialty, loaded with wild blueberries. Talk turned to the mill's woes. Layoffs looming, Lena's family pushing Wyatt toward her uncle's real estate firm. Boy needs stability, Harlan grunted, forking a bite. Not these flighty dreams. Wyatt tensed beside me, boot nudging mine under the table. A secret Morse code. I excused myself to sketch the view, charcoal capturing the mist-shrouded ridges, but my mind raced. Stability. The word echoed like a verdict. That afternoon, we hiked the old loggers trail, boots crunching needles, the forest a cathedral of hush. Wyatt pointed out childhood hides, tree forts, creek swims, his voice softening with each memory. At a clearing overlook, where the valley spilled out like a green quilt, he pulled me against a fir, kissing me fierce, hands urgent on my hips. Stay, he breathed against my neck. Just a week. Help me figure this out. I wanted to, the temptation to burrow into this wild heart of his. But Seattle called, deadlines and the anonymity I'd fought for. Can't. But weekends. We'll make it work. His nod was reluctant, eyes shadowed. Back at the cabin, Lena's truck was parked crooked in the drive, her figure silhouetted on the porch. My stomach dropped. Wyatt swore under his breath, squeezing my hand once before letting go. Finn, didn't expect company? She called, voice honey over gravel, descending with a Tupperware of pie. Blonde waves, yoga-toned arms, Instagram come to life. Her hug was perfunctory, eyes flicking to Wyatt like ownership papers. We chatted awkwardly, weather, the hike, while she unpacked gossip from town. Harlan joined the group a forced tableau. When she mentioned the ring, casual as checking the forecast, Wyatt's face went blank. Lena, we need to talk. The air crackled. She laughed it off at first, but his words tumbled then. It's not working. I've been dishonest. There's someone else. Not my name, not yet, but the truth hung naked. Her eyes welled, then narrowed on me, the outsider in flannel that didn't quite fit. You? She spat, pie forgotten. The college buddy? Jesus, Wyatt. He stood firm, but I saw the fracture, the boy who'd learned to apologize with actions, not words. Harlan cleared his throat, heavy with unspoken judgment. Inside all of you, this ain't porch talk. The confrontation spilled into the kitchen, voices rising like floodwaters. Lena's accusations flew, liar, coward, playing both sides, while Wyatt defended in fragments, I love you as a friend, but not like that. Harlan loomed, finally booming. Son, you break vows before they're made. You're no better than your uncle. Ran off to California, left us high and dry. The room spun. I slipped out, duffel in hand, the valley's beauty mocking me from the window. Wyatt caught me at the door, rain starting to spit. Don't go, please. But Lena's sobs echoed, Harlan's disapproval a wall. Fix your house first, I said, throat tight. Then maybe mine. He kissed me anyway, desperate, tasting of blueberries and farewell. As his truck faded into the mist, Lena's glare burned in my rear view. Rewrite, more like red line, crossing out lines we'd barely inked. Back in Seattle, the apartment felt cavernous, echoes of his laugh haunting the walls. Mara's call came that night. Heard from a mutual. Shit hit the fan. I confessed over takeout foe, the steam blurring my vision. Betrayal's a two-way street, she said. You both lied to yourselves. She was right. I'd invited him in, knowing the risk, rewriting my solitude with borrowed ink. Now the pages tore. Weeks bled into a gray Seattle autumn, leaves carpeting the sidewalks like discarded drafts. Wyatt's texts dwindled. Sporadic miss you pings amid radio silence, while mine piled up, unread in the ether. I threw myself into work, illustrating a graphic novel about lost boys in the woods, irony not lost as my brushstrokes grew jagged, mirroring the rift. One rainy Thursday, he appeared at my door, hollow-cheeked, a six-pack dangling like an olive branch. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside, the threshold a Rubicon. He looked wrecked, stubble shadowing his jaw, eyes bloodshot from nights I could only imagine. Lena had moved out of her apartment, he said, town buzzing with whispers. Harlan had frozen him out, mill shifts cut to part-time punishment. Feels like I'm chopping my own damn legs off. We cracked beers on the couch, the same one that had witnessed our unraveling. Conversation skirted the edges. Ridge Valley gossip, my latest gig, until the labels peeled away, and he cracked open. Called it off for good. Told Dad everything. He didn't take it well. Said I was throwing away legacy for city confusion. His voice broke on the last word, and I pulled him close, his head dropping to my shoulder. The weight of him was anchor and storm, familiar yet foreign. "You're not confused," I murmured, fingers carding his hair. "You're just late to your own story." He lifted his head, eyes searching mine, and the kiss was salvation. Deep, unhurried, erasing miles and misunderstandings. We moved to the bed, rediscovering each other with the reverence of survivors. His touches were apologies, my responses forgiveness, bodies weaving a narrative of what could be. After, in the quiet, he traced my ribs, voice muffled against my skin. "Move with me, to Ridge Valley. We could build something cabin life, away from the noise." The offer hung, tempting as forbidden fruit. Seattle had been my reinvention, but it echoed empty now. Freelance checks barely covering rent. Friends scattered like fog. Ridge Valley? Roots risk Wyatt's hand in mine through the thorns. "I need to think," I said, honest ache in my chest. He nodded, no pressure, but dawn brought decision. We drove east together, his truck a cocoon against the downpour. The valley welcomed us with tentative sun, Harlan's cabin a beacon. But as we pulled up, his father's truck sat ominous, engine still ticking. Harlan met us on the porch, arms crossed, face carved from granite. "Heard you were coming." No warmth, just assessment. Wyatt squared his shoulders, hand finding mine. A public claim that twisted my gut. "Dad, this is Finn, my partner." The word landed like a felled tree, silence splintering around it. Harlan's eyes flicked to our joined hands, then away, jaw working. "Partner, like in business." Wyatt's grip tightened. "Like in life. I'm gay, Dad, or bi, whatever the hell the label is. But it's Finn." Harlan exhaled, long and ragged, sinking onto the steps. "Your mother. She always said you'd march to your own drum. Never figured it'd be this tune." No rage, just weary defeat, the logger facing a storm he couldn't chain. We talked then, halting at first, words chipping at ice. Harlan shared stories of his own youth. A mill buddy he'd buried feelings for, lost to a logging accident, the regret festering like dry rot. Hid it all. For the town, the job. "Don't you do that, son." Tears tracked his weathered cheeks, and Wyatt knelt, embracing the man who'd raised him solitary. I hung back, witness to mending, heart swelling with fragile hope. Lena's confrontation came days later, uninvited, her car screeching into the drive like a vendetta. She stormed the porch, eyes wild, pie plate shattered at her feet, remnant of that first clash. "You destroyed him, you know, my Wyatt. Gone for some city twink." Wyatt stepped forward, calm steel. "I was never yours to lose, Lena. I was borrowing time." She laughed, bitter shards. "And this? Your little experiment? Town's talking. Kane boy's gone queer, dragging his daddy down." Her gaze sliced to me. "You think you can rewrite us? This valley runs deeper than your sketches." The barb hit home, but Wyatt's arm around me steadied. "It's not rewrite, it's reveal. And Finn's staying." She deflated then, sobs racking her frame, the fight bleeding out. Harlan appeared, offering a handkerchief, his gruff easy now a bridge. Lena left in tears, but not hatred, more loss than venom. That night, bonfire crackling in the yard, we toasted fragile peace. Harlan raised his mug. "To drums." And the boys who beat him. Laughter mingled with sparks, the valley's hush approving. But as embers died, Wyatt pulled me aside, voice low. She's right about one thing. Town talk. It'll grind. I kissed him, tasting smoke and promise. Let it. We're the story now. Yet doubt lingered, a shadow at the fire's edge. Rewrite demanded ink, and ours was still wet. Winter clamped down on Ridge Valley like a vice, snow blanketing the slopes in hush, turning the mill's hum to a muffled roar. I'd sublet my Seattle apartment, boxes shipped east in a leap of faith, my sketchpad now filled with valley vignettes. Frost-laced pines, Wyatt's profile by lamplight. We carved a rhythm. Mornings with coffee and his hands on me. Afternoons at the co-op where I freelanced logos. Evenings tangled in the cabin's warmth. Harlan thawed by degrees, inviting me on hunts, not for game but stories. Over venison stew, he'd recount mill legends. The '52 flood that swallowed half the town. His courtship with Wyatt's mom under harvest moons. She saw through my bark, he'd say, eyes distant. You do the same for him? Every layer, I'd reply, meaning it. Wyatt bloomed under the acceptance. His shifts lighter, laughter freer. We hiked snowshoes to hidden hot springs. Steam rising like exhalations. Bodies steaming in the mineral kiss of water. There, weightless, he'd confess fragments. The terror of first crushes on teammates. The relief of our movie night spark. But the valley whispered, insidious. At the general store, sidelong glances followed us. Mrs. Ellis's tight smile when we bought groceries together, the barbershop murmur cutting off as we passed. Lena had spun her narrative, casting me as interloper, Wyatt as fallen. One evening, post-shift beers at the Loggers' Rest, a drunk regular slurred, Kane, that city boy's turning you soft. Real men don't prance. Wyatt's fist clenched, but I squeezed his thigh under the table. Ignore the noise, I whispered. He nodded, but the bruise lingered. Tension crested at the winter fair, lanterns strung like stars over the fairgrounds. We'd entered Harlan cider in the contest, a family recipe, our collaboration. Amid hayrides and fiddle tunes, Wyatt's hand in mine felt defiant, electric. But as we claimed first prize, cheers mixed with hisses from the crowd's fringe. Later, by the bonfire, a shadow detached. Lena's cousin, bulked like a linebacker, beer breath hot. Think you're clever, Harper? Corrupting our own. Wyatt stepped up, voice steady. Back off, Jake. This is our life. Jake swung wild, fist glancing my shoulder, but Wyatt tackled him into the snow, grapples turning to shouts. Harlan waded in, pulling his son free, while deputies hauled Jake away. Bruised but unbowed, we retreated to the truck, adrenaline crashing into silence. You okay? Wyatt asked, dabbing my split lip. I nodded, but the valley's underbelly gnawed. This place, it fights back. He kissed me fierce, truck cab fogging. Then we fight smarter. Spring thawed the ice but not the chill. Wyatt proposed expansion, a small studio for my art, attached to the cabin. We broke ground on a mild April day, Harlan swinging the first spade, his grunt approval. Neighbors trickled by, curiosity edging toward warmth. Old Mr. Thibodeau sharing heirloom seeds, the librarian dropping off queer-lit titles with a wink. Yet betrayal brewed subtle. One dusk, rifling toolshed for brushes, I found the shoebox. Letters from Lena, post-breakup please tucked behind rakes. Come back. This phase will pass. For us, for family. Wyatt's replies, scrawled hasty. Can't. But forgive me. Heart sinking, I confronted him that night, box between us on the kitchen table. His face paled. Finn, it's nothing. Old ghosts. Ghosts you fed, I said, voice cracking. While building with me? He reached, but I recoiled. I was easing her down, protecting you from the fallout. By lying? The word echoed, mirror to our origins. Movie night had been truth's spark. This, it's sabotage. We argued till stars wheeled, accusations flying like axes. You think I don't fight doubts? He roared. Every day. Choosing you over easy. I stormed the studio, half-framed walls mocking our dreams. Dawn found me sketching fury. Wyatt's form fractured, lines bleeding into void. He entered quiet, coffee in hand. I burned them, I'll swear it. But trust, once splintered, splinters further. We limped on, touches tentative, the valley's judgment a chorus. Mara visited, her Portland edge cutting through. Love's not a cabin, Finn. It's the storm you weather together. Her words lingered as summer scorched the slopes, wildfires licking distant ridges, nature's reminder of consumption. Wyatt and I hiked to fight lines, volunteering with crews, ash smudging our faces like war paint. In the blaze's roar, we found sync, passing hoses, sharing canteens, bodies moving as one. One emberlit night, campfired with firefighters, he pulled me behind a supply truck. "Marry this mess with me," he whispered, ring improvised from twine. A vow amid chaos. Tears stung, ash and all. Yes, but no more boxes. He nodded, fierce. Betrayal's scar faded. Not gone, but woven into strength. Summer's heat wave broke with a vengeance, thunderheads piling like accusations over the Cascades. The valley sweltered then drowned, creeks swelling to torrents that tested the cabin's foundations. Wyatt and I dove deeper into us. Studio completed, my canvases lining walls with bold strokes of reclaimed narratives. Harlan commissioned a mural for the mill office. Loggers intertwined with rainbows, subtle defiance etched in grain. Town sentiment shifted grudgingly. Lena's cousin fined for the fair brawl, her own departure to Spokane a quiet exodus. Whispers softened to nods at the diner, where we'd claim a booth for pancakes. Wyatt's boot hooked round my ankle under Formica. But roots run deep, and betrayal's echo resurfaced in autumn's rust. A letter arrived, forwarded from Seattle. My ex, Theo, the architect I'd left 2 years back for his wandering eyes. Heard you're playing house in Hicksville. Miss the city spark? Come visit, reconnect. Attached photo him, sleek in Manhattan loft light, arm around a new flame. Wyatt found it crumpled in my jacket, eyes darkening over dinner. Who's Theo? Old wound reopened, I confessed. The 3 years of compromises, his affairs excused as exploring. My heart whittled down. Left because I deserved more. Found it here. He pushed his plate away, voice low. And this? Rekindling thoughts. No. I insisted, but doubt seeded his mine. The letter was chaff, but it stirred ghosts. My Tacoma flight, Seattle's hollow reinventions. Was I rewriting or repeating? Arguments flared anew, smaller but sharper. He'd snap at my late-night sketches, fearing escape. I'd bristle at his mill overtime, sensing retreat. Harlan mediated over cider, his gruff wisdom a balm. Storms pass if you batten together. Your ma and I fought like cats, loved like fools. His stories grounded us, her laugh in kitchen gales, his hands steadying hers through miscarriages unspoken. Broke us open, he said, made us whole. Inspired, we sought counsel. A therapist in nearby Ellensburg, sessions in a sunlit office where words unpicked knots. Wyatt admitted the letters to Lena. Fear of solitude, not flame. I own Theo's pull validation siren call. We're human, the doc said. Flawed drafts. Edit kindly. Healing hummed through winter's hush. Snowshoe dates to the springs evolving to proposals whispered in steam. The ring came proper. Silver band with compass engraving, Harlan's gift. His eyes misty as he clasped Wyatt's shoulder. Full circle, son. Spring fair dawned crisp, booths blooming under blue skies. We entered cider again, my label design gracing bottles. Intertwined evergreens, roots delving deep. As judges deliberated, Lena appeared. Unbidden, but composed, city polish faded to valley soft. Wyatt, Finn. Her nod included me, tentative olive. Heard about the engagement. Towns. Adjusting. Awkward chat followed, her new job in accounting, a nod to my art. It's brave, she said, eyes on our hands. What you built. Wyatt's arm tightened round me. Takes a village. Even the ones who swing axes. She laughed, genuine, and left with a hug. Closure's quiet seal. Harlan claimed the blue ribbon later, hoisting it high amid cheers. No hisses this time. Bonfire that night roared approval. Fiddles weaving our story into the night's tapestry. Yet climax brewed beyond our hearth. Mill layoffs hit hard. corporate buyouts slashing jobs, Harlan's among them. Wyatt raged in the kitchen, fists clenched. Legacy gone. What now? I pulled him to the studio, easel prepped. We adapt. Like always. Together, we sketched plans. Ecotourism cabins, my designs partnering his builds. Pitches to investors, Harlan's contacts. My city polish landed seed funding by summer's end. Groundbreaking echoed our first, but larger. Stakes driven for futures intertwined. Intimacy deepened, touches reverent. Lazy mornings tracing tattoos. Nights where bodies spoke volumes unspoken. You're my rewrite, he'd murmur, breath warm on my neck. But human frailty peaked in a storm-lashed August eve. Harlan collapsed at the sight, heart stutter, ambulance wailing through downpour. Hospital vigil stretched endless, beeps a metronome to fear. Wyatt paced, hand crushing mine. I sketched his worry in napkin margins, anchoring us. Doctor stabilized him, stents, rest, but the scare cracked Wyatt wide. In the waiting room's fluorescent pall, he broke. Can't lose him. Can't lose you. What if it's not enough? I cupped his face, tears mingling. It is. We're enough. Recovery bonded us triply. Harlan homebound, us nursing with stews and stories. He watched us with quiet pride, once admitting, thought I'd die regretting. Now, grateful for the drumbeat. Autumn leaves turned gold as our wedding neared. Small, valley affair under harvest moon. Vows exchanged by lantern light. Harlan officiating with borrowed preacher's poise. In storms and sun, you choose each other. That's the truest rewrite. Cheers erupted, fiddles striking up, bodies swaying in cider-fueled joy. Mara toasted from afar via video, her grin fierce. Lena sent a card, happily ever afters deserve applause. As stars pricked the sky, Wyatt and I slipped to the springs, rings glinting in moonlight. Water embraced us, warm against night's chill. To us, he whispered, lips on mine. To rewriting, I replied, heart full. The first anniversary dawned misty, valley air crisp with promise. Our cabin aglow in dawn's tentative gold. Wyatt stirred beside me, his arm a heavy comfort across my waist, breath steady against my shoulder. A year since vows, rings worn smooth by daily touch, the studio buzzing with commissions, Harlan's health a steady rhythm beside the mill's retired hum. We'd expanded the eco-lodge vision. 3 cabins nestled in the woods, each a story. Mine sketched, Wyatt built, guests arriving for hikes and hearths. Revenue trickled to stream, funding Harlan's greenhouse dreams, his tomatoes rivaling the fair's best. Town had woven us in, grudging turned gracious. Even Jake the cousin tipped his hat at the diner, amends in a nod. Morning unfolded lazy, coffee on the porch, mugs steaming as deer grazed meadow's edge. Wyatt's fingers laced mine, thumbs circling the band. Remember movie night? Rain like judgment, us fumbling into truth. I laughed, pulling him close. Best invite ever. Worst forecast. His kiss deepened, migrating indoors, bodies reacquainting with familiar fire. Afterward, tangled and sated, he propped on elbow, eyes tracing my face. Kids someday? Or just us, wild and free? The question hung new territory. I'd pondered it in quiet sketches, imagined chaos of little feet on hardwood, dark curls like his, hazel mischief mine. Adoption whispers, surrogacy dreams, but rooted in this valley's embrace. Someday, I said, with you, anything. Harlan joined for brunch, his limp less pronounced, plate piled with our frittata. Talk meandered to legacy, not logs, but lives. The lodge's first family review, 5 stars for hearts open as the views. He beamed, fork pausing. You boys rewrote the Kane name. Proud don't cover it. Afternoon brought a hike to the overlook, packs light with water and sandwiches. Trailside, Wyatt paused at our clearing, pulling a thermos of cider, anniversary vintage. Toasting amid wildflowers, he confessed softer. Still wake sometimes, fearing its dream. That straight guy me snuffs the light. I framed his face, earnest. He's part of the story, not the end. Descent yielded to the springs, a ritual now. Clothes shed, water sigh enveloping. We floated, limbs entwined, steam curling like secrets shared. his hand on my belly whimsical. Imagine a mini-us splashing here. Laughter bubbled, but depth followed. Talks of paths not taken. Theo's letter a faded scar. Lena's ghost laid to rest in mutual cards. Betrayal taught us, he said, to hold tighter. Dusk found us at the logger's rest. Locals toasting our milestone. Harlan spun yarns, drawing laughs. Mara FaceTimed, her Portland chaos a foil to our calm. Homeward, truck lights piercing dark. Wyatt's hand on my thigh, anchor eternal. Winter whispered in with first snow, lodge bookings spiking for holidays. We decked cabins in lights, Harlan carving ornaments from scrap pine. A nor'easter hit Christmas Eve, power flickering, guests huddled by fires. Wyatt and I played hosts, stories, mulled wine, turning storm to hearth. Midnight, as flakes danced, he led me porchward, breath clouds mingling. 1 year down, infinite to go. Kiss in snowfall, pure as rewrites page. Spring unfurled commissions. A Seattle gallery show, my Valley series. Fractured pines, mended hearts. Wyatt drove me west, pride radiating. Opening night, amid clinking glasses, he cornered me by abstracts. These raw beauty. Sold out. Critics praising intimate American grit. Return east felt triumph. Cabin waiting like embrace. Summer's heat brought the call. Adoption agency match, a toddler boy, abandoned foster, curls wild, eyes wide. Home visit chaos, Wyatt on floor with blocks, me sketching his glee. Harlan babysat first overnight, rocking chair creaks lulling. Papers signed in fall's glow, little Elias Kane Harper hours. Naming for my grandfather, the quiet Tacoma dreamer. First family hike, his tiny boots stumbling, our hands steadying. Challenges wove in, sleepless nights, Wyatt's doubts on fatherhood, am I enough? My freelance dips funding strains, arguments flared, brief as summer storms. You're pulling away, I'm right here, fighting. Therapy anchored, words mending. Harlan's wisdom, parenting's rewrite daily, love edits the rest. One eve, Elias down, we collapsed couchward, wine loosening. Thank you, Wyatt whispered, head on my lap, for inviting me in. I stroked his hair, heart full. Best night ever. Years layered like rings in pine. Elias's first words, Dada too. Lodge expansion, Harlan's greenhouse wedding. His to a widow from the co-op, joy in his eyes. Betrayals faded to footnotes, conflicts to character. We'd scripted a life. Raw, romantic, rooted in compassion's soil. Freedom in choice, identity in embrace. As Elias grew, chasing deer in meadows, Wyatt and I watched from porch, hands clasped. The valley, once foe, now chorus to our hymn. In quiet, he'd murmur, didn't expect this rewrite. I'd smile, kissing temple. Me neither, grateful for every word. And so the story unfolded, not end, but ever after. Hearts mended, lives entwined, under endless American sky.